Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us.
Welcome to the Why Doesn't My Partner podcast.
I'm Jules.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met through our training and practice of relational life therapy. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for therapy. If something you hear in this episode stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com and leave us a question of your own. Here's today's question.
Why does my partner make hurtful comments? And when they do, what should I do?
Well, I think that there's two pieces to this question.
Right. Like, what do we mean when we say hurtful?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And are those comments like hurtful, like mean-spirited, spiteful?
Right. Because there are sometimes when people are being very purposely hurtful, retaliatory, or expressing anger sideways in ways that are really hard, like calling names.
I was just going to say name calling is objectively hurtful comments.
Totally. Yes. There is such a thing as verbal abuse. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
That's not really subjective.
Right. And it could not even totally. And it could not even be name calling. It could be dehumanizing or degrading. Yes. So like, I can't believe you say stuff like that. It makes you sound so dumb. It's not technically name calling, but super mean.
Yeah.
That is hurtful.
That is hurtful. That was hurtful to be on the other end of.
I know, right? It's awful. Like, let's be kind, people.
Yeah.
Right. So it could be that what you're experiencing is absolutely hurtful in a very clear way. It could be kind of more gray. And it could be like, I know there have been moments where my husband's pointed out something, made an observation about something that's really true, wholly accurate. And by the way, he said it kindly. And I did not have my boundary up. And by the way, even if I had, it would have been true and it would have been about me. That would be accurate. And it was just hard to face. And frankly, it hurt. My heart clenched in a twisty sort of way and then dropped into my belly. And I felt like I wanted to throw up. But he was right. So it wasn't an inaccurate thing. It's good that he said it. So it's like, when are we doing boundary work? Right.
Right. And it's like there are times where I don't want to hear what you have to say, or he or whoever, right? Like it doesn't feel good to see that part of me.
Totally.
Yes.
Right. And so part of that boundary work, part of the starting place of that boundary work, I think, begins with like asking the question, like, is this true? And is it about me?
Discernment. If it is true and it is about you, go ahead and take it in. But if either of those things are not true or not about you,
stays on the outside.
Stays on the outside. That's actually about the other person. So for sure, I wouldn't take in any of that harsh stuff we were talking about in the beginning, because none of that's true and none of that's about me. So 0 of that actually makes it in. Not that I'm not going to address it. We'll get to that in a minute, but I'm going to keep that out.
Well, yeah. And when we're talking about boundaries, thank you for that, because my first answer to this, really, why does my partner make hurtful comments? That's my partner's journey, not mine. I mean, there's still the question, why do that? I get it. But it took me months, I think, with my clients to figure out what good verbiage could I be teaching my clients about that protective boundary. Because what I was first saying is like, those are your issues. And even issues sounded so pejorative in my mind that I couldn't come from, it didn't sound even in sessions healthy. And then one day I came upon, that's your journey, not mine. And I like took this deep sigh of relief with that one, which does help in my own marriage. I mean, I don't say it out loud, but that's what I say in my head when I'm working my boundary, because I don't think he'd appreciate it in those moments. But so that's what you're saying. When your boundary is up, even if they're saying something hurtful that you don't agree with, isn't true for you, etc., that's my partner's journey, not mine. I don't have to absorb it.
It's important information about them, and they are somebody I love. So, why do people say hurtful comments? Well, sometimes it's to discharge anger. Sometimes it's to retaliate. Sometimes it's to scare you, to get you to back off because they're feeling too vulnerable. Sometimes it's to get you to feel controlled in some way, or like they can command what's going on. There's a lot of different reasons why somebody might say a hurtful comment.
It might also be because they don't
take.
I was going to say, just to throw another one in.
Yeah.
It might also be that they don't know how to share their pain or their hurt with you. And the only thing that they know how to do is to literally share it with you.
Yeah, totally.
By making you feel what they feel.
Yeah, totally. So
I'm hurting, so you're going to hurt too.
Yeah. That way I feel really
retaliation.
By you.
Retaliation.
Yeah, it's just a form of communication, right? It's not one that I would want in
it's not
my
healthy.
marriage. Yeah, I don't like it, right? But the other piece of it may be that they're saying something that is true and that is about you, and actually even saying it kindly, but it still hurts.
Like you were saying.
Right, totally. So there's that one. And then there may be that you're taking in stuff that isn't true and isn't about you and making it really personal. And it isn't. So the first step would be to U-turn and see, how are my boundaries doing?
Yeah, because even if they mean it to be about you because they're cranky pants and being hurtful, if it's not true for you, you don't have to absorb it.
Right. You do not need to take that in. And sometimes, look, we are how long into this thing now? 18 months, 20 months?
What thing? This pandemic?
The pandemic?
Yeah.
We're like, it's 20 months into this thing, and everybody's like trying to go back to school and trying to get to their lives because it turns out this thing doesn't end. And like, and people are stressed and jobs are really hard. And I don't know, like maybe everybody in the house is only at 20%.
Right.
And sometimes I'm just cranky. And I didn't mean to say it mean, but it sounded mean to me. And, yeah. So my question one is, what should I do when they make hurtful comments? The first thing is check your boundaries and make sure you're not taking in what's not yours and not true.
And when it's not yours and it's not true, this is like, if you want to work on being relational with your partner, this is a window right here. This is an opportunity to notice, hey, that's not mine and it's not true about me, but it means something because it tells me something really important about us and about you.
Right. It's important information about you, and you're somebody I care about. So I am deeply curious about what's going on.
But I'm not going to let it inside to like be that spear that gets my heart and kills me.
Right. We've increased our safety through the boundary so my brain can stay intact, because safe brain equals integrated brain, so that I can stay connected enough to my heart space that I could lean through that and go, wow, are you okay? Especially if it's weird.
Well, and sometimes I'm lucky enough that even when in my own head, we have a tiff and I'm thinking like, where did that come from? What the heck is wrong with you? And literally my next sentence is, wonder what guy was about. Like I got there pretty fast. I'm like, now that really is a good question. What is going on for him right now? And like my whole body calmed down in that instant because I went into the curiosity piece instead. But it started from that piece of anger of like, what is wrong with you? And then, what is wrong with you right now?
What is going on in there, Mister?
What is this about? We were in the middle of church, so it wasn't the time to ask, but it did change my mindset.
It doesn't just change your mindset, right? It changes your whole energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
it shifted everything.
It's a shift out of like, what's wrong with you? Which is like contempt, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with you? Which is more compassion and curiosity. There's a big shift there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like the verbiage was the reminder to my brain to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about though, if somebody's saying hurtful comments and they really are hurtful comments, like they're lashing out in anger or they're retaliating, what do?
We have to set limits.
Yeah. My
Those
first
are
thought
hard.
just now was you take a time out, like get away.
Yeah. You could get away for sure. And I think it requires even bigger than that. For sure.
I'm saying right in the moment.
In the moment. Yep. Take a time out. Go. You do not need to put up with that.
Functionally dissociate.
Yep. Totally. And a lot of people, when we're talking, functionally dissociate. I love it. That's true. You can functionally dissociate. If you're stuck in a car, functionally dissociate. If you're at home, go to another room.
Yeah. Well, I did that in the car last week, actually.
That works really well. It works really well. Yeah. So I think this is what, if you just like Googled the word boundaries, I think this is what people are talking about. We talk about boundaries and we're talking about psychological boundaries and containing boundaries. Like, how am I putting a pause between what I feel and what I do? How am I creating a space where it's okay for you to have your own thought and feeling, and that doesn't have to hurt me just because you had it? These psychological boundaries. But I think this is where the limit setting, a lot of times I'll call it executed boundaries. I think it's what Cheryl Strayed's talking about. Do you guys know this quote by Cheryl Strayed?
I do.
It says, boundaries have nothing to do with whether you love someone or not. They are not judgments or punishments or betrayals. They are a purely peaceable thing. The basic principles you identify for yourself that define the behaviors you will tolerate from others, as well as the response you will have to those behaviors. Boundaries teach people how to treat you, and they teach you how to respect yourself. Yes. And I love that she's saying it like this.
Yeah.
And she's 100% right. The purely peaceful things. Boundaries have nothing to do with controlling another person's behavior. You can't talk to me like that is not a boundary. I'm going to say that again because I just said something crazy.
Yeah.
You can't talk to me like that is not a boundary, because that's you saying what another person can and cannot do.
You can't control another person.
I actually don't have that power. What I can do is control me. So what I can say is, it's not okay with me that you talk to me like that. If you continue to, I will leave the room, drag your ass into a marriage family therapist, right into a couples counselor of some kind. I'm going to move out. I'm going to, like, it could be that somebody's doing it in a way that's really painful and it's like relationship ending level problem.
It could be. It could also be smaller instances of when you talk to me like that, I'm going to go take care of me. Right? Like it doesn't, it can just be, I don't want to be talked to like that. And so when you raise your voice to that level and you're saying things to me that don't feel good, I'm going to remove myself and go take care of me. And if I continuously can't take care of me, then what I have to do to take care of me escalates.
You know what else I love doing when I'm doing these kinds of boundary conversations, which are more in that limit setting space, is I love saying what is fine. So,
what do you mean?
Giving options.
So let's say I notice that when things get heated and there's anger, Often my partner talks to me in a way that's harsh. There's name calling. It's not okay, right? There's hurtful comments made about disparaging my character, always and never sort of stuff, right? So I might say, and this would be at a moment when I'm doing a meta conversation, probably not in the heat of it. Not in the heat.
I love, my own therapist says this. He says, strike when the iron is cold.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
This is one that we would strike when the iron is cold. And I would say, I've noticed when we have conversations where things get heated, it goes in a way that really hurts me. I love your anger and I want to hear about your anger, and I want to hear about it in a way that is both clear and kind. I do not like it when you call me names, and I do not like it when you say I'm always or never. If that continues to happen, just know I'm going to call it timeout. And I'll go ahead and we can circle back and have that conversation later. I'm going to go ahead and go. Right. So I'm saying what is okay with me. So I'm not just giving them a no. I'm also giving them a yes.
Yeah.
So it's like making space for the
choice.
feeling in a different way.
What strikes me, Jules, in that example that you just shared with us is that there's an invitation, right? It's not just like here's where my wall's going to be. It's an invitation for this is what can really work and how I can take in what you're going to say. So now we're using that really, like, this is one of our favorite skills in RLT, right? Which is, I'm going to help you give me, like, I want to help you to help me. I want to help you to help me, right? So that always gets twisted in my mouth when I'm trying to say it.
Totally. I'm going to help you give me more of what I want.
Right. And so I want to let you know right now what you can do in those moments when you want to express something that's difficult and hard. I want to welcome and make space for your vulnerability.
And the moments when you don't feel so vulnerable, you might be pissed.
Yeah.
And that may feel vulnerable to you, but it may not. That's fine. Your anger is welcome here. And the way you express it matters.
Yeah.
So I want to make space for the connection rather than just putting up a wall. Yeah. Which, if you're in really a verbally abusive relationship, that's a completely different animal. That's a completely different animal. But we're talking about, hey, it hurts when you say yada, yada, and it happens a lot.
I don't know why this just crossed my mind, but I'm re-looking at the question. And unfortunately, sometimes my partner makes hurtful comments because he's going for a cheap joke. And this just happened with us a couple of weeks ago. And I have spent, poor guy, 17 years either laughing it off or, laughing it off because it was, trust me, I was not trying to actively protect him, but it was so buried in me that it bothered me that it really didn't bother me at all. And then out of the blue, he made a comment a couple of weeks ago and it bothered me. And I very gently let him know in the moment. I was going to bed, but I was like, yeah, I didn't appreciate that. That wasn't funny tonight. And I went to bed. And then a few days later, I initiated the meta conversation and I said, I want to talk to you about that comment. And I would appreciate if I'm shortening it for you guys, could use your containing boundary moving forward and not go for the cheap joke. And he was so open and wonderful with that conversation. And he was like, I will do my best to try. The guy's really sarcastic. So he's like, I'm not prepared to say it's never going to happen.
Your husband is very funny. He is also very sarcastic. Both things are true. Both things are true.
So he's not going to listen to this one ever because I don't even going to see even Jules thinks I'm funny. But so because he'll totally say that all the time now. But he said and thankfully it's not like I recorded it. It was a nice moment, but he said something along the lines of, please know that it is always just for the joke and I never mean it. And I love you so he sold it Terry's sell it. And he did. But I'm realizing now when I read this, it was a beautiful repair. And he doesn't ever mean to hurt me with those hurtful comments, but they're the dumb jokes about maybe I'm still not sure. And it's been 15 years, one of those, or she's a horrible cook, or like, I mean, the really obvious jokes.
Low hanging fruit. Yeah.
Yes. So I think sometimes people make those to be funny or who knows what reason.
Sure.
And then what should I do? What we're talking about, set the limit. Let them know gently and lovingly, like it is not okay, which I have not let him know for 17 years. He handled it really well the first time I let him know, because
good for you for saying it.
Yeah, I was kind of proud of myself that night.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at me. Well, and it was weird because it actually did bother me. And it's never bothered me in the past. That was the weirder part for me of like, I wonder what's going on for me that I am noticing it. So it was kind of a big night for both of us. He didn't see it that way. But there's something about like going to your partner, like you were saying, and setting that limit, but also the direct request and letting them know where you're at, that I have not historically done.
And it changes everything.
Yes.
When you do.
Yeah.
And it can change your whole dynamic moving forward too. It doesn't become like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're speaking up for what you need and what you want. And that's the thing about setting limits.
Yeah. Yeah. It's clear, and we're kinder when we're clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's leave it.
Okay. Take care.
Take care of each other best you can, guys.
Bye-bye.
That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at our boot camp. You'll find the next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you could ask us your question?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.